We are live. Hey, everyone. We are so excited to be here for you, to support you, for me to introduce someone absolutely wonderful and dear to my heart. This is my connection part. I have known Bill for 7 years, and he is a language expert. We are going to be doing a topic here. It's 4 topics in 4 weeks' time, communicating during scary times. And we know that a lot of you out there need some interactive support, and that most of you are having these difficult COVID-19 conversations with people, whether it's talking to your family, financial situations that are occurring right now, certainty for future. And really what Bill is going to do tonight is peel back, better languaging for this time, and really help us learn to show empathy and compassion towards the language that we're using. And so I'm really excited to share him with you, and I'll let Bill take it away. As we go along, we're going to go ahead and ask for people to share their questions, and there'll be interactive one-on-one conversations regarding this. So please feel free to share, and Bill, take it away.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. Happy there's about 30 people online here, which is a wonderful number of people to connect with. One of the things that we're going to do is take a look at how to communicate more effectively and what to say back when somebody says something or we have a thought that is really affecting us emotionally. What's the best thing to say during this time. So hello, everybody. Happy to be here. And what I'd like for us to start off with is that what are some sentences or what are some things people have said to you, or maybe some of the thoughts that you have. And this is to write down those sentences and thoughts that you would like solved. And you don't need to write them down now, but I just want to set this as the intention is to make this more of a working session rather than just a Bill Sturley presentation, because I can talk, but that's not as helpful as you telling me, Bill, what would you do with this sentence? What would you do with this thought? This is something that I heard that really bugged me. Those are the ones that really makes this a very, very interactive and valuable time for you as the participant. And I'd like to start us off with something that I find very, very helpful in these crisis times that we're in, is that really to get a hold of what our thoughts are and what our beliefs are and what our thoughts are. If we can start catching them there and then notice that those thoughts do translate into words, and those words do translate into actions. So when somebody is saying one thing one way and then another thing another way, what that changes into an action called I feel confused and action. I don't know which choice to make. Now, what happened is those actions become habits become values. Now, values become destinies, but if you get stuck on the habits part of it, that it becomes a fate, like we do the same things over and over again. So that's the thing to really catch a hold of is to really get used to catching our belief and our thoughts, rewriting those as we go. And then before they come out of our mouth, make sure that it's the best intention that we would like. Now, during scary times, a lot of times I think of human beings as a school of fish. See, if we have this community awareness and we're really support and we create supportive and safe communication skills, we won't get picked off. Now, this metaphor is something that's really unsettling because most of us are sequestered in our own little fishbowl. And when we're swimming around in a circle and making sure we don't go out or get out of the school or otherwise, something, a predator is going to pick us off here. So these sentences, these thoughts that we have in our head, we want to be able to do some things with them. But the challenge with the thought is it really affects our brain. So for example, I see the picture of an elephant here, and then there's this little guy sitting on top with a little stick. The guy riding on top of the elephant is trying to get the elephant to go a little bit right or a little bit left. But notice his best strategy is just to gently tap the elephant. So what winds up happening is that the rider part, the little guy, is the front part of our brain, and the elephant is the limbic part of our brain. Literally, neurologically, this is 400,000 neural connections, and this is 4.3 million connections. So it's like a 1 to 10 ratio of strength. Emotions work like that. So if we activate the emotion, the elephant will either charge or sit down or run away. When it charges, it's in a fight response. When it sits down, it's in a freeze response. When it runs away, it's fleeing. It's a flight response. So if we're not giving clear, short messages, or if we're giving messages that are in conflict, well, we got to watch out for our elephant brain not hijacking, or an emotion comes up and then we're ready to do anger. So as soon as we go anger, then our elephant is going all over the place, and we don't necessarily have the ability to calm it down unless we give it some empathetic or short sentences. Does that make some sense, Tracy, this first part?
Absolutely. And, you're speaking to several, when you ask people to put in their sentences, there are several of these that you're talking about right now that directly relate to that part, because that elephant brain that you're talking about and that anger or these other pieces, I'd love to have asked some of these sentences that they're putting down and how that's working in the brain.
So what sentences you got that you would like a piece?
So Bruce put, what triggers me a bit is fearful statements about germs based more on fear than on observation.
Right. So fear is going to be the feeling, okay? And the need, Bruce, is, in the way you're framing it, is it's based on fear, but it's not based on truth. So they're feeling fearful because they don't have truth about what a germ can do and doesn't do. So, is it true that 6 feet away is the distance? Well, that's the current truth that everyone's living with at the moment with this virus. That's the current messaging. And the current messaging is social distancing. Now, I don't know if that virus can make it 7 feet or not, but 6 feet is what we've kindly agreed upon as the school of fish trying to protect ourselves. So empathy is going to sound like is, could you be feeling fearful and you need trust about germs? They then say yes. And Bruce, it's not going to be based on your version of truth or the observation that you make. It's they're upset because they don't know what truth looks like. And so we've got to have the conversation about what truth looks like to them before they can hear what truth looks like to us. Because if we just start saying, no, this is the truth, they go, no, it's not. Elephant sits down. My elephant's not moving. I'm not moving my elephant. So they need the feeling of fear to be hooked to truth before they'll move.
That's what you called that's what you called that push me, pull you, right? Where it just keeps escalating up and up and up, right?
Keeps escalating. And what happens is there's no way to navigate, because that's the third part of this, is getting to shape the path through what we're going through. Is these are situational obstacles, which tend to be a firefighting experience. And we want to convert those into meaningful challenges with people's beliefs and their judgments. When we have words like murder or attacked or abandon or should have or what's wrong with them. All of those words and phrases raise the cortisol in our body, and we're ready to, take that out for a spin, going like, I'm going to fight this because no one's going to talk to me like that. And that's the thing to mention. So what I thought about would be really helpful is to dive into the deep end of the pool. So, so Tracy, give me another one of those sentences, and then we'll frame it with this next piece.
Woo, I've got a strong one. It's kind of political, but I think there are people that have heard it. Rick says, someone said to him, Trump should be tried for murder.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I asked him, is that something someone said to you? And he says, yes. So obviously that'll bring up some things, right?
Yes, it will. So it's going to be anger is the feeling to furious. Now, there's a different. Angry means that there's a judgment, which is the judgment sentence, right? But what is the need there? There's a couple of them. The need for justice, the need for truth. Just see how it's starting to pile. The need for care, the need for protection of life, the need for communication. See, immediately murder seems like a really great idea because 5 needs are not being met. Because when a person escalates their needs, the need for care for the country, the way that person sees it, it doesn't have to be. Some people have a belief that he's doing a great job. Some people have it, it's a terrible job. Some has a great job. Some has a terrible job. But what happens is the person's belief structure that is saying a sentence like that has already triggered up to 7 needs. Now they're furious. So they want justice, and justice looks like tried in a court of law for murder, for not communicating or taking action based on his job description as a public servant. That's his job description. That's what the president's job is as a public servant. It's not to pick one person over another person. That's not in the job description. That is in a political argument, but it is not in a job description once you get the job. Once you get the job, you're to serve everyone, not to say some of the sentence that he's saying and some of the actions that he's done and not done. Okay. So that one is very tough, Tracy, and I'm glad we went through it. Can you see how tough that is? Because we're fighting on that. We're fighting not only the situation, but also our belief sentence. That's tough. Because we got to empathize with the belief sentence before the person can even have a rational discussion with us.
I always picture that diagram that you have showing it's based on the perspective that you're looking at. So we look at that cylinder where one direction it looks like a circle, and the other direction it looks like a square.
Maybe we'll get to that, and this might be in the deck. Okay, so I'll check, and if not, I'll come back to it.
Okay, great.
So what I'd like, this is a really important tip. This is a really important tip for all of you on the line. Help the person you're talking to, even you help yourself here. Help the person you're talking to get clarity about where their pain is coming from. Is it the virus, which is a physical health concern? Or is it the money, which is a financial concern? Right now, one of the biggest suffering that people is going through is they've blended those together, and now they're really escalated. It's almost like those two sets of needs and those two things are triggering each other, and the upset is getting high because it's not only the physical safety part, but it's the need for financial security. Now, it might be the chain. Everything might feel differently in 2 weeks once people start getting their checks. The financial concern will start moving off the plate a little, because guess why? They're only giving a little bit. They're not covering us for 3 months. They're not covering us for 6 months. If they really want to calm people down, and saying everybody's bills are covered for 6 months. Everybody's bills.
Well, and I'll throw another one in there too, because A lot of people have children, and a lot of people's children are home. And so not only are they acting as teachers where they used to be supported by people teaching their children,
Do you think?
yeah. They also have had space to do their work, and now they're all
Right.
having to work in a space that's only for home, right? So there's a lot of that stuff going on.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a couple charts in a second, because those are not just the physical concerns, but not just the financial concerns, but all of a sudden we've got family stuff that sticks right in the middle of that. And both of those pressures are being experienced with the family members, because your kid comes up into you and says, "Hey, can I buy a new camera for my computer?" I'm going like, "Camera? You might not see that for 6 months," or but I'm being joking, but it's there. The kids are not present to the financial concerns because, well, we're paying all their bills, and we are their slaves, so that's a whole nother problem that we have, so, but divide the communication between these two pieces. Is it a physical concern? Now, I've stacked these things, these words, in a way that I would say that would de-escalate a conflict. So when somebody brings up a health concern for themselves, they need safety for themselves, a conversation about what safety looks like, how to get clarity about the information that they're receiving, how to get truth about that information, certainty about the information, as well as trust. So once the person's talked through those 5 words, their logical, or the front part of their brain, will come back online, and then they'll be able to either feel sad or mad or disappointment instead of shock, anxious, panic, which is a lot better. If they are more outside oriented about physical stuff, it'll be about for others, protection for my kids, care for my kids, stability while my kids are inside the house. What does my family look like? What is going to happen inside my community? Now, all of a sudden, the physical concerns are outside oriented about, something happened with my staff. Something happened with the restaurant owner that I knew and really loved. And that's care for the outside, not so much for self, but for others. Same thing happens in the financial concerns. Financial concerns for myself because I'm a paycheck to paycheck person and I just got laid off. Or for others, here's what happened to my brother. Here's what happened to my mom. Here's what happened to, my friends, because I care deeply about them, and I would love to be able to support them if I could put a couple nickels together. And I don't have stability for myself, and they don't have stability for me. And trust, and then of course predictability. Okay, does that make sense then? The first step is to divide the question into 2. So far, so good. All right, so let's go ahead, Tracy. Let's take another question on, and then we'll take on a difficult word is what we're going to do next.
Okay, so let me see. This one person said, people wanting emotional empathy when it's more likely they need to think more clearly and match their feelings with their thoughts more. I don't.
Excellent. I'll be glad to. I'll be able to. And also is that they want empathy for the emotion that they're going through. So this is called a head gut disconnection.
Oh.
They feel fear in their gut, and they have a sentence running in their head. And they have the thought or the experience, if you just talk to them enough, that you're going to fix the connection to what their heart is. So here's the trick, is that people don't have enough vocabulary around what is happening at their heart. Not enough vocabulary. So you need to offer it to them so they can connect their head to their heart, to their gut, and then back again from their gut to their heart, to their head. So it's I feel scared. I have a need for protection. That's the heart word. What would protection look like to you? Get them thinking about their heart word. So this list is the list of heart words to start talking, and then their logical mind will come, their rational mind will come back online. But right now, their gut is running the show. Their gut and the thoughts are triggering the emotion, and it's cutting off their ability to think logically.
Can you say that one more time? So I feel scared.
I feel scared. I have a need for protection.
Okay.
Okay.
What does protection look like?
Protection look like to you? Instead of you explaining to them what protection looks like, because all of us know this on this slide. Try not to laugh too hard. We all have tried to explain to somebody and give them the answer, and they reject the answer. But if we ask them to think about the answer, most likely they'll come up with the answer we were just about ready to give them. But if you give the answer without connecting them to the heart word, they're going to bat it away. I mean, it's just that quick. And, you know, as a father of 3 kids, I could give them the answer, but if they're not coming to their own answer, they don't have enough buy-in. They're not, and they're looking for you to rescue them, blah, 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 talk through it, you know, and then we've got to connect them. So these words, these activator heart words, are the current ones that are really very fundamental at this moment in this field of time about what does safety look like? How would you like some more clarity? So you really felt frustrated because you needed some more certainty, scared about certainty. You need some doubt around the truth that you were hearing. You know, so that then gets them back here, and then it goes way better.
So Bruce asked, do you recommend asking fearful people, are you, be curious with and have empathy with, do you feel scared? He's asking if you recommend that.
Well, don't stop at the word scared. Give them the heart word. Are you scared about protection, or are you more scared about some certainty? No, I want certainty. Great. What would certainty look like? If you stop at the feeling word, they'll escalate and they'll bring another complaint. Don't stop with lightning speed. Get to what need and guess it for them, because they don't have it. I want to let you know, but this don't expect them to know what's in their heart. Keep guessing, and it usually takes the first guess. Even if you get it wrong, they will actually self-correct. So you really needed fairness. No, it was respect. Okay, well, so now you needed respect. Okay,
it really does work this way. I've seen Bill do this. I don't know how many hundreds of times. I've gotten it done to me hundreds of times. I think we've all, anybody who knows Bill knows, he'll do this guessing part, and man, he just nails it.
I don't know. You know, mind reading is overrated. You know, put that down on your refrigerator right there. Mind reading is overrated. Make a good guess of what's happening in their heart. Let them self-reflect. Let them self-analyze. Let them cough up the word, you know, and you just, you know, a slight little fishing expedition. So is there another one, another question?
Oh, geez. People are going, oh, this makes sense. This is great. I'm asking them to put their stuff down. You can keep going. Jenny Jolly said something which was really interesting. She said, I heard someone saying we need physical distancing, not social distancing. I liked it. I always like looking at the positive side.
Yeah, physical distance instead of social distancing. Yeah, the physical is different. They a lot of times in messaging, when they're trying to get people to do things that for their own behalf, is they start polluting is propagandizing. That's still not so good. Saturating is a better word. They start saturating media with words and phrases and concepts that they would like us to follow. Okay, let me give you an example of that one. designated driver. Yeah, before in like 1985, there was not a or was it 90? There was no such thing as a designated driver. But as soon as they chose to try to meet the need for safety for people drinking on the road, what they did is introduce the concept of designated driver, and it was on Friends, it was in Cheers, it was on the news media. A new concept, designated driver. This is what a designated driver. This is the role of designated driver. This is what it is. Now it's a common phrase, a designated driver. So they said, friends don't drink, no drive. Who's the designated driver? Who's the one that's not drinking, or who's the most soberest person to drive us home? And it gave, a way for somebody to talk about that safely. Social distancing is the phrase that they choose. More accurately, it's physical distancing, which is also the positive is I don't want to socially disconnect from people, but I want to physically keep space from others. Mm-hmm. So, all right,
cool.
So let's now go to the concept called what do you say when somebody says something to you that is very, very difficult to hear? So I'm going to take a very, very difficult word that all of us have heard and has been said to us and we have used. And I want to give you a way to show how to get around or how to use these tools that I teach to get to the heart of the matter. And the difficult word that I'm going to propose we use is the word no. It's a very difficult word. Now, the reason why certain cultures, certain cities, certain individuals have trouble with the word no is because they don't want to hear it from somebody else. So, Tracy, if you'd be willing to get back online, I'm going to ask you a question. And you just get to say the word no to me. And I want everybody to listen to my response to Tracy's no. Look at Tracy, 3 months from now. Tracy, I have a little bit of financial problem. Would you be willing to lend me $10,000?
No. No.
So, Tracy, I'm guessing you feel doubtful and you really are choosing to spend the money elsewhere. Is that correct?
Yes. No. No.
So Tracy coughed it up because the subtext of the word no is the word choice. Inside our houses, people say you are not, it's a no, to go out unless you're going to the grocery store or going to the pharmacy or one of those 2 places, right? Essential items. So our choices we're experiencing some temporary limitation to choices. Can't go to the beach, can't go to the park. Why? They're thinking like, well, people are going to go out. Well, I'll keep social distancing, so I'll go to the park. Well, not if there's 300 people at the park. You're not going. You see what I mean? It's like we got to figure out how to do this. And I've got all kinds of different countries are hitting people with sticks to get them to go home. Making them do push-ups so they'll go home. It's funny stuff.
Did you see that policeman that created the coronavirus helmet?
Coronavirus helmet. Yeah, he did. So when you're talking to your kids, we're choosing to stay home. So I'm not saying, no, you can't visit your friends. I'm not going to say that sentence to you because then I'm going to get 15 to 35 minutes of whining. Why can't I go? Now, actually, we're going to choose to stay home to meet our need for health. And we're choosing to stay at home to meet your friend's need for protection. That's what our choices are. We're going for safety and we're going for protection. Those are our available choices. Just like grocery store and pharmacy, choice you know, is really the word to talk about and to phrase your communication so that choice is at the lead of your communication. We're choosing to do this as a community. We're choosing to do this as a city. We're choosing to meet the need for safety and protection for ourselves and others. We're going for something rather than um, we're not allowed to do something, because that affects us independence wise, freedom, connection needs, all of those things are very, very much alive. And we need to talk about choices and use choice more often in our language during this time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I will say that when somebody says to me something like that, where they don't give me the choice, I'm more apt. I just want to give them all the reasons why, right? Uh, all the reasons why. And we don't want that. It's just like what you're talking about.
No,
Here's the choice.
it's gonna escalate the emotional load or the emotional experience inside a person's body. The more you talk about things, there's a couple of videos where there's this little girl complaining, I want to go, I want to do this thing, mom, I want to do this thing, and the mom's just sitting back and she's like, she's delighting at how much the girl's arguing with her, but isn't helping her, saying, gosh, I hear how important it is for you to have fairness and connection, and you would like to do some things that your friends get to do. Now, what we're going to choose to do is, and here are what our choices are, and this is what is a choice that would work best for me or work for best for both of us. I'm not sure how we're going to get both of our choices here. And that's when you're at a heart conversation versus a head conversation. The head tries to explain, problem solve, judge, criticize, bribe, diagnose, label. That's all head language. It's not heart language. So the heart language is going to get us a long-term connection that is less painful, more peaceful. The head is going to get us a temporary compliance with a really bad backlash later. It just escalates.
There's something Jenny just said, and it really caught my attention, because Jenny has a lot of people from India that are seeing certain things, just like we're seeing certain things in the United States, because we have all this different media and different information coming to us. And she said she's hearing people saying, you guys in the US are crazy for not taking this seriously. Number one, it's a judgment statement, right? Because whatever they're looking at, they're judging because of something they're seeing or hearing, and it may not be the right, the truth, right? The observational truth. It may be from a different perspective. So during this pandemic, she's getting people saying, you guys are nuts. You guys aren't taking this seriously. And, obviously there are things that come up from that, because we're hearing that and we're seeing that people are taking it seriously, but yet, in personal experience, we could come across somebody at the grocery store who's standing right on top of you, and you're going, what happened to the social distancing? Why are you standing on top of me? And yet you're hearing it all around. So how do you deal with that?
Well, the hard part about that is because of the sensitivity that we have as human beings to words, phrases, and images. What winds up happening is that there's a whole great selection of the population that doesn't watch the news, that doesn't watch TV shows. One cashier person that I talked to recently, she said, it's amazing how many people look at the lines that are 6 feet apart and say, what are these things for?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are these things for? What rock have you been living under would be my judgmental sentence, right? But really is they feel confused because their need for awareness is not met because it hasn't they haven't seen or heard about this, or they've seen or heard about it, but they didn't think it applied to them because it is not in their perspective. It's not their perception. So what I work on and what I try to coach people to do is follow what heart words are in action. So if it's a conversation about trust, then it's, what does trust look like to you? What does trust look like to me? Information. I heard this information this way. You heard this information that way. I'm leaning more towards this information than I asked her that much because that information meets more of my needs than the other one does. Understanding. I'm not much of a biologist. I don't know how viruses really work. I don't know how it's going to be infected. Certainty. Well, certainty is a whole belief structure we have to make up anyways as human beings, because we really actually don't have as much certainty as we think we do. So we usually make it up every day. That's called the illusion of existence. I think I'm alive. I believe I'm breathing. Yes, I guess I am. I think I am. Yeah. So, and then physical safety, that's the distancing part that you were just talking about. So I would like a little bit of space. I would like a little bit of distance between you and I. I'm needing some safety right now. Safety would look like, would you be willing to stand at that line while I stand at this line? Now, I said, would you be willing to stand at that line while I stand at this line? I'm saying I'm doing my part. And if the person says, no, I'm not willing to, okay, would you be willing to stand at my line and I'll stand at your line? Because I'm meeting my need for space. I don't have to get mad at what their response is. I don't have to get mad at theirs. I'll just pick a different option. Hey, so I'm going to choose to move out of this line and go to a line where the people meet the need for safety. And good luck with this line.
I'm going to use a picture that you've used with me, I don't know how many times, is stepping off the hamster wheel, that you don't get on that hamster wheel with the people. You purposely say, I'm not going on that drama wheel with the person.
Hey, it's their drama wheel. You do not have to be the second hamster on that wheel running around in an argument that you could literally just stand back and go like, good luck with that. Good luck with not getting anywhere with that thought conversation that you have.
Well, Amy right now says certainty has been a big one for her this week, that normally she's really decisive, but she says it's been really hard to be clear this week with this particular piece.
Yeah. So the simple exercise is a prompt exercise with a lot of these heart words. So Amy, it would sound like this. My need for certainty looks like ... That's your prompt. And then you write, my need for certainty looks like staying in the house. My need for certainty looks like ... My need for certainty looks like staying 6 feet away from each other. My need for certainty looks like taking this action right now and getting it to completion. My need for certainty looks like, and literally just use these words as prompts. This is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like. And you can literally prompt your way into certainty. Because now you got 5 or 15 items of what certainty looks like for you. And your decisiveness will come back. And you'll feel it's really weird. You'll actually feel the ground coming underneath your feet. It'll sort of like go, okay, I'm feeling this a little bit better now. Oh, yeah. Now I know the meaning I have with the certainty I'm experiencing. Because now I know what it looks like for me. It might look like different than somebody else, but for me, this is what's working as my list of 17 prompts that I've, added. Okay. Was that helpful?
She loves that. Yes. Very. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's up to you to get this mind to work with this heart. That's where the payoff is I got to get this certainty. I need language built around that. Same with other physical safety. This is what it looks like to me. Reassurance. This is how I would like other people to talk to me about reassurance. This is what honesty would look like. Yeah, they're telling me this, but I'm not sure it meets my need for truth and honesty. I feel skeptical. That's called the correct feeling, because skeptical is an important feeling to tell us that we're not getting the kind of truth we would like, and we're not getting the level of honesty we would like, as well as trust. Okay. All right. So far, so good. So now
Yes,
we've,
and I just want to make sure that you guys let us know how we're doing. We've got about 20 minutes left, Bill.
yes,
So Sarah put more needs not met, the more you will have to do to meet them all. All sorts of needs not being met for most of us right now, and so
that's
we
right.
might find that it takes us more self-care right now.
A little more self-care. That's right. Self-care, self-empathy about here are the needs. And in staying inside the house, and looking around the house, I see that, my house's need for care is not met. And now that I'm in the house, maybe I just choose to meet my house's need for care, you know, by cleaning this thing that I haven't cleaned for a month or 6 months, or clean, or patch this thing or fix this thing over here and here. And then that would make a bigger difference for me, because now I'm picking the needs that I am working on, not thinking about the needs that I'm not getting, and starting to ruminate about those. So when our needs are not being met, our emotions go up and down a scale. So um, I haven't really been feeling much bored, but I have felt exasperated if I watch news media. And I do feel frustrated and irritated by certain things and annoyed by certain other things. And hesitant and torn and confused. Amy, there's a good list for you. Hesitant, torn, confused, doubtful. Those emotions are telling you that you're not getting certainty, and or your decision making is not clear. So you can prompt your way out of that. So, oh, you painted the kitchen? Oh, I saw that. You dusted my desk. You got to work on how can you get your needs met in your current environment of care and those kinds of things to take on. When it gets worse for us is when we're stuck below the line. So think of it as like, okay, can I catch myself and just talk through the things on the top and only spend a little bit time on the bottom temporarily, because that is an accumulation of a bunch of needs that are not met. Accumulation. So overwhelmed tells us that 10 needs are not being met. Depressed tells us that 15 needs are not being met. So there's a lot in that stuff. And you can see where the slide is: bored, exasperated, numb, helpless, hopeless, depressed, right down the slide. Same thing as the other one. Right down the slide. Unsettled, worried, anxious, nervous, scared, panicked, terrified. Unsettled, anxious, and nervous are really powerful emotions to speak and then to pursue the need or pursue the thought. So it doesn't go and drift below the double line. And when it does, then we walk ourselves back up. Does that make sense?
So approximately how many needs are not being met when you're down below the line? You've said quite a few.
Yeah, it's like
if I'm torn or confused, it might be what, one or two?
That's right, one or two. That's right. If you stay above the line, it's like one or two. Like frustrated just tells you maybe your need for support isn't met, or your need for consideration isn't met, or your need for awareness isn't met. Whereas when you get down to furious, it's 7+ needs to get somebody furious. That was that sentence, Rick. We were working through them. Trump with murder should be tried for murder. Is I feel furious because 7 needs of mine aren't being met by his approach and his way that he did this thing. I'm not giving him a pass. He is the public servant, and he is the one that's to protect and to be on top of these kinds of things. So that immediately escalates it to 7. because of just my point of view. Now, so other people have a different point of view. Oh, how could he have known? Well, I don't know about that. Some people are doubting that one. That doesn't meet their need for truth. See, all of a sudden, doubt is right below the line. Skeptical, need for trust is not met. Resistance, shock. See, there's a whole group of people that are in the shock space right now, especially if they've had a family member or they have a friend of a family that's gotten sick. They're not doing good. And so we got to walk our way back up and start getting our needs met in a more life-serving way. So what you got, Trace? What are you thinking?
So I'm looking at about 15 minutes. I know Bruce just asked that on our next week's call that when people are signing up for this, that we should ask them to, like, a little question or something to send in, like, language that triggers them, so that you can, be very specific, regarding some of these things and examples maybe. So I think that's a
good. Yeah, that would be a good one we could take a look at. Mm-hmm. And I was just glancing over here. Ellen, listen to the expert and put in everybody else on mute. That's mm-hmm. hilarious. So the need for truth is based on the skill of the person that's speaking to me, not the person that is looking to be optimistic or to paint a rosy picture around things. I'll put a mute on that. I don't need that. I don't need the optimism and the future thinking right now. What I need is truth and trust. And I need an expert that says, here's what it is, and we're going to be a straight shooter about it, and we're okay. And that takes a person with more self-worth to bring bad news. The doctor, Fauci, he's the one who really does a wonderful job of going, hey, here's the scary honesty. This is going to be somewhere between 100,000 and 200,000 people that have passed. And that's the honesty. Notice I'm standing in truth. Therefore I have confidence. Therefore your doubt, you don't need to sit in the space of doubt, because I'm giving you a range about where it's going to land. And all of a sudden I can believe that, because he's giving me some scary bad news, and I can lean on that to create a form of certainty. Whether I'm going to be one of the 100,000 to 200,000 people, I don't have that certainty, but I have the certainty, at least I know what the number is, So what are these heart needs? What are these things that are sitting around us? Some people get activated if they don't get the recognition they would like, or the respect that they would like, or the acknowledgement. I think there was a struggle between the president and the governors around appreciation, and that's the need for recognition and respect. It's not necessarily the need that the governors were looking for, which was support and trust and reassurance. Those are different needs. They were looking for different needs. And then the president was looking for different needs to get met, and he was pursuing those. And that's where the conflict was between the need for support and financial security, and the limits that the governor can take versus what the more of the expanse that the federal government can take. You see the difference? And this is a way to make it non-political, but also recognize, hey, there's some problems here. There's problems in communication. It's not political. It's like somebody's going for one thing and somebody's going for another thing. And, I can appreciate that, I can see that you would like some recognition or respect right now, but I'm not sure this is the best time to get it. I think you maybe take an action to meet their need for support, and then they might give you the respect and recognition you would like many people do. Once you sort of meet their needs where they are, instead of my needs first before I'm meeting your needs. So there's a little bit of struggle that is taking place in the environment that is causing the upset and the conflict. And then it's also upsetting all of us as constituents and voters, because you've got to be present to what is the most important need to work on, not is what is your most important need as the leader. See, there's people making mistakes all over the place there. What is the most important need that you got to talk about? Not is what is my most important need right now.
And so,
Recognition, acknowledgement, respect.
and so, isn't it just wonderful that one of I think your major missions in this sphere of influence that you have is teaching people empathy and compassion and being able to communicate those differences to each other, right? I mean, in a healthy way, not in a combative way.
That's right, in a healthy way, in a healthy way. So let me put up a chart here that I think is going to help everybody. All right. So this little chart is something that you can do on your own. Okay. And it's right. The first column is write your experience or thought. And the three that I'm going to go through are ones that someone put up on my Facebook. Three different people put some things up on my Facebook post. Identify the need that is causing it's causing the emotion that's going to come up next, and then make a request based on the need. So one single mother wrote, how to work 55 hours a week and simultaneously homeschool the rest of the school year. That was her sentence that she wanted support with. Now, notice what her need is, or actually multiple needs. She's got to, as a single mom, meet the need for financial security and contribute a contribution to her job. And then she's got to meet the need for care and learning for her child and try to supervise both of those things while being at home with her kid at home for the rest of the year. There is an entire vertical of workload that moved from the school system onto her plate as a high-level professional that's doing 55 hours for her agency.
So she's obviously feeling torn, right? Torn, confused, and I understand.
Overwhelmed. You understand this because you work at your work, and then you do homeschool too. So that's the thing. So and the only problem, the big difference, Tracy, is you've been doing it for 10 years. She got thrown into it with no preparation and no support.
Yes. Ginny says, I'm more busy these days between extra cooking, taking care of kids and dogs, and trying to embrace this new way of doing business. It's absolutely torn, confused, disappointment, lack of support, everything.
And Amy, self-care is in the middle of that. Oh yeah. Like, right. So self-care, as soon as self-care shows up in my head, I'm going like, gosh, I'd love to get a massage for I can't get a massage. I can't go get a massage. So I'd like to get self-care no, I can't really do that.
I have to go to the grocery store again. What?
I have a grocery store to get to meet my need for exercise. That's what I'm doing. I'm walking around the aisles and staying away from people just so I can get exercise.
Yeah.
So the feeling is torn, exasperated, frustration, anxious, nervous. And now we can make a request. How can she measure and support her child for a block of time, and also figure out how to bounce that back and forth between her workload and her personal life? And then Amy, like you were saying too, is I got to get some self-care in here, because then I'm just meeting the needs for others and I'm not filling my own tank, and that would make a big difference. Now, the second one down here is so many people of all ages are still not taking any precautions like distancing or gloves or mask. So the need is safety and protection. And the other need that's unseen there is awareness. I would like people to be aware about how serious this is. What's the feelings? Worried, anxious, scared. What's the needs? I'm sorry, we got the needs. Worried, anxious, scared. And then the need for awareness is exasperated, aggravated. So what awareness looks like and how to get some of those needs met in the requests is my intention is that people step up. My intention is that that people choose to protect others instead of putting their needs ahead of others and taking action in that direction. Now, I'm going to say something really weird right now, and the uh, the really weird thing to say is we all drive on the road. Every one of us, a lot of us on this call have driver's license, most do. And with that driver's license comes a belief. The belief is, I'm a good driver. I'm a good driver. I know how to drive. I'm a good driver. When we get in a car, we start driving, we're a good driver. That's the belief. Now, that belief is not fully true because on the road, there's not good drivers. So our intention is very important here to make sure that we're setting the intention about what we would like to see regarding safety and precautions. We'd like to set the intention of what we would like to see and balancing our personal life and care for our families, our work life, and our self-care. And then really set the intention so that just like designated driver, like I mentioned earlier, we get in a habit of what does care for self and care for others look like, and then we can do this. How about this? My teenager is riding his bike through the empty streets at 2 to 4 a.m. with his, and this is from a single dad. And he wants to know how to compassionately talk to his ex-wife about this. You're letting him ride the bike at 2 to 4 a.m. in the morning.
Boy, talk about bringing a complexity into it. I was thinking it was bad enough that he was riding around at 2 or 4 a.m. And then you said you have to talk to the ex-wife about it. Wow. There's some complexity.
Hey, I'm needing some safety here. I need some awareness. I need some care for my teenage son. I kind of have that. I'm feeling scared and worried and anxious, and it's not emotionally safe, and it's not the strongest choice that I would like him to make. Yeah, I can appreciate that he's getting his need for exercise met, but is there another way that could take place and can at least take a break for 2 weeks, something, and that would be the request. Take a break for 2 weeks. This is what safety would look like. This is what awareness would look like around this thing.
That's great.
Okay.
We have about 2 minutes left, Bill.
Great. So would you be willing to, because I think I'm kind of wrapping up here. Would you be willing to, talk about our next week thing and get us on the thing? Because I do have a couple slides, but I'll just push them to next week. Okay.
So in next week, in what fashion?
Well, next week we're going to all be on Thursday.
Yes.
And the time, and then as well as, if any of you need some extra work on certain specific things, Tracy, maybe put my phone number up in the chat or my 30-minute booking thing. Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. So in the chat, if you need 30 minutes to work through some of these things, to write out your own script or to make some other requests, just get on my calendar. I'm at home at this desk and I am doing those calls and I'm typing them out and we're writing them down, and then, you're able to use them. So at least we can get some movement for, support during this time, because the challenge is getting the congruency between our language and our thoughts here. What needs are really the most important, and getting clarity on that and the feelings that are getting activated because of it. Okay.
Right. And with that said, let me see. Okay. Yeah. So Terry is definitely asking for some private conversation.
Awesome.
But you know, as far as what we're doing here, this is going to be going on for 4 weeks, and we will have a place by next week that you can actually go as a community to participate in, and we'll get that information out to you in the next week. And there will be a replay here, so you can rewatch this. And we just want to be here during this time to support you. And we know that there are a lot of things that people are dealing with, and Bill is great at doing that. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're just happy that you guys registered and came out to hear him. And hopefully we've given you some food for thought and some things that you can utilize this next week. And we will be back here at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time Thursday. And
Yes.
tell your friends. I mean, this is free. You know, come on, bring them in and let them know this is a great resource for you.
That's right. Looking forward to see you next week. And thanks a lot, Tracy, for putting this together.
Sure, no problem. You guys
All
all
right.
have a great night, okay? Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.